Okay, you ready? This one's gonna be all fucking over the place, and I've cursed in the first 10 seconds of this video, so we'll see how that goes. Okay. Anger. It's finally coalescing, becoming clear to me. Anger is a first step into feeling pain. And I am pretty sure most of the 5 people, hi, thanks for being here, who have seen any of my videos, if you're still here, God bless you. You don't have a problem feeling emotions at this point, I'm sure. I still struggle with this. Just recently have I really been able to tap into grief. It started maybe about a year and a half ago that this massive wave of depression came, this big final letdown internally of it's time to feel things. It's time to feel all of the things that I have not been allowing myself to feel, to experience. All of the emotions, the sensations, the thoughts that were put into this other category, right? They were otherized, they were dehumanized, derealized because they were scary. Because with them came the feeling of fear, and fear itself was in this category of things that I don't want to feel, things that I don't feel safe feeling, things that hurt. And so I hadn't allowed myself to feel quite a broad range of emotions. But when you cut off one thing, you cut off everything. You start pinching it all out ultimately, and it's possible to become addicted to certain sensations and emotions as well. You know, this is where we cling to the positive, the so-called positive sides of things, just because we have decided that they're easier to feel, they're less scary generally to feel. But any emotion can be put in the category of scary and dangerous, and therefore I'm not going to feel it. Even love, even desire, things like that. Anyways, I had cut off a lot of emotion from myself, and just recently am I getting into the nitty-gritty, the deeper levels of pain, of actual hurt. The sensation that all of us have been trained, unless you were fortunate and raised by people, or you just came in with such a strong knowing that hurt wasn't actually dangerous and fear couldn't actually harm you. Unless you came in with that, or you were born into an upbringing that didn't discourage you from fear and pain, and didn't use it to manipulate you either, but just embraced that experience as it arose naturally. If you are one of 99.9% of people who did not have that experience, then it's quite likely that, like me, you have tried to avoid feeling genuine emotional pain, genuine hurt, and the hurt of also feeling unsafe, the hurt of feeling insecurity, unsafety, vulnerability, exposure. And what I am finding is that, again, this is just what it appears to me. I can only share what I see and what I experience. I'm not claiming it to be the one right thing for everybody, but this is what I have noticed, is that all violence arises as a way to get away, to run from the feelings of fear and hurt. A way to get away from actually feeling them. And so the compulsion towards violence that violence is inflicted upon us in the first place, right, is it's coming from someone who is hurting and afraid to feel their fear and hurt. And that then becomes this desperate attempt to get away from that feeling. It's like we try to thrust it off of us, and we do things to and around other people that can be as small and seemingly insignificant as disrespecting someone's space. It can move into obvious denials of consent and autonomy, all the way up into really big, obvious, physical defilement and destruction, that type of thing. Violence is what happens when we flee from the feelings of fear and hurt within ourselves. It just happens. And it's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not evil. It just hurts. That's the reality. That's the reality that we've been in denial of. That's the reality that if we could admit to and accept, we would realize that violence is not required. We do not have to meet violence with violence. When violence is committed, when that hurt is inflicted upon us and we feel it, we have the potential to just sit with that, to be really honest about what's happening here, really honest about what we're feeling, and to notice when the compulsion arises, when something happens and you feel within yourself this compulsion towards punishment. Something just happened to me, and now I want this person, this perpetrator, to be punished. Notice those thoughts, notice that pull. The so-called desire for justice is a craving for punishment that is actually a masking of, it's a moving away from, in order to mask the real feelings in you of insecurity, sadness, and hurt. Just hurt. Just pure, unfiltered hurt. The desire for justice is not a genuine desire. And even the word justice, we paint it in this big, heroic light. Retribution, vengeance is the same thing. Discipline. It's wanting to hurt the person who hurt you. It is wanting that person to hurt. That's what it is. Call it whatever you want. Use these words that make you feel better about it. All it is a continuation of violence. And again, that's not evil. That's not wrong. It is exactly what it is. It is a continuation of violence. It is a passing forward of hurt. Is that what we want? This is what it's time to ask ourselves. This is what it's time to recognize. It's time to finally be fucking real about what we've been doing and honest with ourselves about what it feels like and whether or not that is how we wish to continue conducting ourselves. Do we want other people to feel this way? Do we want to continue feeling this way? Yes or no? It's not a right or wrong thing. It's not, is it good? Is it bad? Is it what God wants? Is it what whatever wants? No. How does it feel? We can only answer those questions when we become honest with ourselves about how it actually feels. Only from there can we determine whether or not we want to perpetuate this feeling. We've been denying what violence feels like. And the great irony is that, of course, it feels terrible. That's why we perpetuate violence, to get away from the feeling. but we're just perpetuating the feeling underneath and refusing to face it. So when violence happens, when that feeling of hurting happens, notice the thoughts that demand retribution. Notice the feelings of anger and betrayal. Anger is the first step. Anger, we're so out of touch, many of us, not everybody, a lot of us, including myself, so out of touch with the deeper feelings, with the reality of our own experiences, that we won't even admit to being angry. We won't even admit to feeling anger when a hurt happens, when violence is inflicted. We won't even admit that there's anger in response to that. That's a first step. That is a first step, but it is just a step because that anger is still a defense mechanism. It's closer to the pain, but it is still masking the pain. So when the violence happens and the anger arises and you notice it, and you notice those feelings in yourself and those thoughts saying this person should be punished, this person should pay, what's underneath that? That's not a real desire. You know that. You can feel it. You can feel it pretty quickly. There's a craving here. There's like a desperation in this. This is not a pure good feeling. It's desperate. So what is it covering up? What is it desperate to get away from, actually? This craving is pulling me away from something. What is it pulling me away from? A feeling of insecurity, a feeling of vulnerability, a realization that this could happen to me, that I could be wounded, I could be injured, I could be, violated. There's a feeling of insecurity, there's a feeling of fear there, powerlessness, lack of control. And underneath that, maybe right next to it, I think it's just one shade deeper, is hurt. Genuine, innocent. Like when I say innocent and pure, I mean it's just that. It is just hurt. It's not blaming, it's not shaming, it's not telling a story. It's not trying to get away from anything. It's just crying. It's just hurting. That's being honest. And it's not just being honest with ourselves and one another, it's being honest with the universe. Which is ourselves, which is the fullness of ourselves. But how can the rest of us give ourselves what it is we really want if we're not honest about what we're feeling? All this time, broader life as the artist, interested in our experience, desiring to cater to it, wanting to cater to it, wanting to deliver experience that is satisfying and delicious and increasingly so, but it can only do that if we're honest about what we're experiencing right now. If we're honest about how the experience that has been delivered feels. And so if you can imagine an artist or a chef or whatever version of this you want who is, saying, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Actually, not what do you think of this? How do you feel? How does this feel? That's a much more accurate version. How does this feel? And if you can, see in the very beginning that maybe it's easy sensations, easy flavors, right? Nothing too jarring there. And so there's just a little bit of, oh, I kind of like that, or, oh, I don't know if I like that. But then when something really violent happens, and those feelings are so big and so vulnerable, so painful, instead of feeling them, we start saying things like, oh, that's so terrible. Why would you do that? So life is asking you how this feels. And life stabs you in the gut and says, how does this feel? And we move immediately away from honesty because this is an intense experience. We move immediately into projection away from it. And instead of saying how it feels, we start saying what we think about it. We start telling stories. We go into the mental space. We say, why would you do that? Why would you betray me? And life says, how does this feel? And we say, what kind of person would do this? Why would you do this? Why would you do this to me? And life says, how does it feel? Though. And we say, this is evil. This is madness. This should never happen. It's terrible. It's awful. It should be stopped. It should be outlawed. And life says, how does it feel? And we go on ranting and raving. It's terrible. It should be criminalized. Anyone who creates this feeling should be killed and tortured. And we just go off the deep end. And life says, how does it feel, though? Because it can't know otherwise. And that's all it's asking. It can't hear. Nothing that you're saying is making any sense. None of it is feeling. All of it is made up. It's unreality. And so life keeps twisting the knife in your gut and saying, how does it feel? It's not doing so to be vindictive. It's genuinely asking a question. And if you just finally break down and say it hurts, if you just feel it, you have to feel it. You have to feel the feeling. That's what transmits the answer to life. That's how life knows what the feeling feels like, is by your feeling it. So you have to let it be felt. Feel the betrayal. Go through the layers of it. Feel the anger. Feel the betrayal, the disappointment. Feel the insecurity, the unsafety. And then feel the hurt, physical and emotional. Feel the deep pain of this. And then life says, wow, thank you. That's what I was asking. And it pulls the knife out. And it patches you up. And it learns we, as life, can hurt. And that hurting, while valuable information, is not really the experience that we want to create. Because it hurts. That's it. Again, it's self-evident. All truth is. It doesn't have some other explanation to back it up. It's not full of reason. Hurt hurts. That's why we don't want to keep creating it. But if we don't admit to it by feeling it, if we don't feel the hurt, we don't even realize we're not being honest about what's happening with ourselves, with each other, with life. We, as life, as collaborators in this creative process, don't know what it is that we're creating. So of course we keep recreating it. And then we go, why is nothing changing? Because we're not paying attention, we're not being honest about what's being created, so it just keeps coming back. Once we get honest about it, we realize that violence is not required. It's an option. Violence is always an option. Violence is always available. It's on the table. Life is free. It's unrestricted. It doesn't just become excluded from the potentials of reality. But because we get honest about what it feels like, what is the feeling that violence is creating, and when we're honest about that feeling and we feel that it hurts, we don't have to make something up about it being good or bad. right or wrong, even liked or disliked. It's in the experience of the feeling itself. Hurting hurts. And innately, we recognize this is not a feeling we wish to recreate. This is not a feeling that we have a genuine desire. Again, the only reason you would want to cause hurt to anybody else, to recreate hurt, is because a compulsive need to escape your own hurting. It's not a desire. It's not a true desire. It doesn't actually feel good. It's just a flailing, desperate attempt to get relief from this. That's the only reason we're compelled to create hurt in others. But if we sit with the hurt when it is called forth in ourselves, we recognize this is not a feeling that I wish to give to anyone else. And that realization opens up new space, new reality, new creation opportunities. You're not saying hurting is wrong or vile or evil. You're being honest. Hurting hurts. And hurt doesn't feel like, we're just talking about the feeling, it doesn't feel like a thing that I want other people to feel because I'm feeling it right now. It's not destroying me. It's not actually harmful. It hurts. And again, it's like baked into this feeling is the recognition that I don't really want this to be a part of my creating. This is not the experience that I want to cater for others. It's not a judgment. It's not an indictment. It's not morally incorrect. It's not incorrect. It's just not what I want to create. And I know that from feeling it. You taste a flavor that just isn't for you. It just doesn't taste good for you. And you recognize this is not a flavor that I want to cook with. I don't really want to cook feces into the meals that I'm preparing for my loved ones. I just don't. Violence is an attempt to get away from feelings of insecurity and hurt. Violence perpetuates feelings of insecurity and hurt. Violence, when answered by violence, which is the compulsion, just begets itself. But that's not necessary. Violence is always an option. It is never required. Let me say that again. Violence is always an option. It is never required. You get to choose. And choosing not violence means choosing to feel and admit to and be honest about and acknowledge fully in yourself the feelings of fear, of unsafety, of insecurity, and deep hurt that you experience when you witness violence. And you recognize immediately in that process, it doesn't matter, it's not about where the violence is coming from. That's not even really a thing. And it's not even really about who is hurting whom. That's not even really a thing. Violence is violence. Hurt is hurt. It's collective. It's universal. It's simultaneous. There's no one who is responsible for it. Violence hurts. Period. In being honest about what violence feels like, all blame and shame and the finger pointing and that kind of what we would call personal responsibility fades away. And you recognize the one thing that you are responsible for, and it's not responsible like you owe this to anybody, you're doing a service to other people or even yourself. It's This is what you can do. This is how you honor your own experience, and therefore all experience. Being fucking honest about it. Seeing it clearly. Not pretending that it's something other than it is. Seeing what is here. What you can do. The only thing you are responsible for. Meaning the only thing you can do and that you do want to do and that is natural for you, ultimately. It doesn't take effort. It takes a bit of courage. It takes awareness. It takes doing things differently. But all it is being really honest about what has arisen within you. What is really here? What do you really feel? Just be honest and keep going with it. Is this the deepest feeling? Is this the deepest layer of experience? What might be beneath this? And what I have found is that beneath all anger, beneath all suffering, so misery, depression, despair, beneath all of that is the feeling of insecurity, vulnerability, and then hurt. Just hurt. Just pure hurt. That place is pure. It's clear. It's clean. It's absolute. There is nothing wafting from it. Nothing connected to it. Nothing, no strings that it's pulling. Nothing that it's projecting. It's pure, honest experience. Its authentic self. And just doing this is dismantling everything that is built by dishonesty, which again isn't evil and isn't wrong. It's all just been a protective mechanism. But it's time. We are mature enough now to be able to face the truth. And the truth will set you free. The truth is liberating. It is freedom. To really just fucking feel what you feel and be honest about it. And now nobody is responsible for your feelings. Like, no one's responsible for managing your feelings. And you're not responsible for managing anyone else's. I gotta go inside. But real quick, this handful of things, these are the highlights of insights from the past couple of weeks. 1, we're not here to convince anybody of anything. It's not your job to convince anybody. It's not your job to take their pain from them. It's not your job to take away their anger or depression, to take away their sadness, to take away their hurt. That's not your job. It is not your job, and it is not your place to try to manage someone else's emotions. That emotional experience belongs to them. It's not for you to touch. I'm talking to myself. It's not for you to touch. It is not your role, your job, or your place to fuck with that. Witness it? Absolutely. See it? Yes. Be there in awareness of it? Hell yeah. Do something about it? No. Try to change it? No. Nope. Not necessary, not helpful, actually. So it's not our place to convince anyone. It's not our place to manage anyone's emotions. 2, this one might sound kind of random, but it came through the other day and I liked the way it felt. Everything that we build now, everything that we learn, everything that grows now is not for the system. Not for the system that was. Not for the system that's been. Not for the system that still is. It's not for this system. Everything that we build now is not for this system. It is for home. what could be called the original, but is also the new. Everything that we build, learn, grow, create now is not for this old system. It's for the new one. It's for the original one. It isn't for security. It isn't for reputation. It isn't for acceptance. It isn't for identity. It isn't for earning or performance. What we build now is for joy. It is for love. It is for ourselves and ourself. What we build now supports the system that supports us. Mutually, effortlessly, organically. So that's 2. I'm trying to remember the other one. Oh no, I wrote them down, but, well, maybe that's all that's necessary. The last one being the summarization again of violence and the compulsion towards justice is just a masking of the real feelings of insecurity and hurt. And it's time to be honest. It's time to be truthful about what's here and what we feel. And when we're truthful, we stop blaming other people. We stop shaming ourselves, which is just an internally directed blame. And we just feel. We're just here with the raw experience. And that opens everything. That's direct communication with the universe, with the creative substrate. Just feeling the feelings that are here to feel. That's communicating. So that's it. I think there was one more, but I can't remember it, so must not be that important right now. I gotta go. There's more that I have to say, of course. But this is sufficient. It's too much for one sitting anyway. I love you. Thank you for being here. It is so cool to be building what we're building. Take it easy.